Rich went to the bathroom, I think. He just walked out.
Wasn't my turn to watch.
Are we rolling? All right, I guess we're ready to get started.
Are we on?
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Zero. Okay. All right, so when we last met, you provided us your wage proposal. The issue was really just the second year of the contract, and we said we would take that back to the elected officials. We did have an executive session, and let me provide you what we've been authorized to propose. So bottom line is that what you all were looking for in the second and third year of the contract was a 3% pay increase. As you know, our original proposal was just to meet 2. Under this proposal, we're willing to do the 3% as long as the county doesn't go to full rollback.
As long as,
The county doesn't go to full rollback rates.
Jeff, do you happen to know what the total amount is for each year? Like the monetary, what you guys have estimated that's going to cost for each year for this?
For the 3%?
Yeah, and, well, and.
Yeah.
And 23, 24, the 3 years.
So with respect to the first year, the total is 1.589 million, which is $500,000 over what we were budgeting for this year.
Okay.
The second year of the contract, the 3%, we have at 581,879. And in the third year, we have it as 599,335.
Can you say the last word again, please?
599,335.
Thank you.
Sure.
So, there were some things that came to light since we last met.
Okay.
And apparently, the wardens got a 15%. I understand this.
But I know nothing about that.
Just hear me out.
Okay,
So I don't know.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
If I'm wrong, correct me on how it's gonna go. They got a 10% and they're getting a 5%. It's kind of hard to sell to the bargaining unit, you know, that over 3 years, they're gonna get what the warden got. Now, I'm gonna go into a little bit more on this.
Okay.
We think that the way that has been presented to you guys, the bargaining unit and the council, on how many positions we short are really not as accurate as they need to be. When I say we did corrections, under the previous administration, has really gutted a lot of stuff that we are now coming, 2-hour rounds, lockdown or shutdown rounds. These are things that Mr. Demore will attest to. We're operating outside of what we should be doing. But you don't have the staff to do it the right way. And we have those 70 funded positions. You're only showing 29 vacant. There's just...
Right, it's based on shutting down units.
Right, I got you. But we're getting ready, we have, our intake units are gonna have to go to 30-minute rounds. We discussed that with the director. The problem is, we're gonna need additional staff to do that. And additional staff, if we're gonna post that for overtime, there you go with more overtime. So the problem really comes down to how you don't have the people to run the jail the way it needs to be run. And you're gonna have more people leave. It's just, I know that you've been given direction from the council, but are they even considering the 70 unfunded positions, or the funded positions?
Well, keep in mind, going into the executive session, the only issue was the second and third year of the contract. We're in agreement on the first year.
Oh, yeah.
So I didn't present to them anything on the first year. The thing is that with respect to, filling some of these vacancies, you have to get the 7.5% increase in there and increase the starting wage. I mean, that's going to have some impact, positive impact. Because the only issue was the second and third year.
You're right, at the time, that was the only issue. I mean, I didn't get the wardens or raise. So, it's kind of a slap in the face to the ones that are out there doing the rounds and doing the job. I mean, it's not something that has set well very well with the guys and gals. I'm just...
Greg, I can't respond to it because I have no earthly idea if it happened or why it happened.
And I'm going to have Matt kind of explain to you. He kind of went over, and last night, I guess they were really super short, where they're working really short.
Yeah, I saw it, there was an email.
Yeah, someone had sent an email out.
Yeah, I saw that.
In talking to the guys, every unit was one officer. There's five officers in the hospital. It's just sergeants running around, just crazy, trying to do everybody's rounds because there's no one there.
I was the one who sent that email.
Okay.
So I normally work in Take, it's only a 5-person post. It was for the most night, me and a female officer. And we did roughly 35 intakes.
And that runs through the rest of the county, I mean, because you have your intake unit, they have to process everything the jail and the sheriff, or the police and the sheriff bring in. And so if you're gonna start where these guys are having to set 6-7 hours waiting to process what they're bringing in, it's not just impacting the jails, you're impacting the entire law enforcement within Volusia County. So you got officers now that are on the road because they can't drop off their inmates, their arrestees. So there's, I think that needs to really be looked at. And I want Matt to go over how he came up with his numbers on the shutdown units, because I'm going to say it wrong. Where these positions, how they're not being, you guys are saying there's 29 vacant, and Matt, could you take over for that?
But regardless of how many vacancies or why, the parties are in agreement on the first year pay increases. So I'm not,
Well, we're gonna discuss that as soon as we got this, but there were some things that the bargaining unit once said, and we'll.
oh, no, please, I'm not trying to stop that from saying whatever it is, you know, he believes we should hear. I'm just saying is that I'm not sure how that impacts anything if the only issue was the wages in the second and third year.
Because our people on the floor every day, and yesterday a message was sent out to the upper command, including the people that earned the 15% raise and a 10% raise at this time, should I say, and there was 0 responses given. And yet we're 15 vacancies short. And they didn't even say that, man, I hope you guys are doing well. The one SQ that was reached out to, that was in the group chat, he responded back, he was working the MSP run, so he did come in at 2:30 in the morning and did assist with that for his normal details, but the rest of the command staff was completely silent.
Command staff being,
It was Chairman Captains involved. I'm not
Captain.
sure if there was lieutenants changing the email or not, or text message, I'm not sure what they utilized. But it almost was like a slap in the face. You know, me and the other sergeants, I mean, we were exhausted after last night. We're still here today, but when we hear someone else is getting a 10% raise due to times in the jail, when we're on the floor, and we don't see them. They come to the jail, a lot of times they're in the office, and you never hear from them. Unless there's a very severe bill. So.
And I know we have that, I guess the county hired an outside firm to come in October 12th. Do you know anything about that?
yeah.
With that,
Yeah.
okay. With that, we don't even know what the parameters of what they're looking for, because we're going to tell staff to communicate with them, because surely there's not going to be any, retribution. We don't expect any of that for them to be honest and voice their concerns to these guys. But one of the things that I think that needs to be looked at, because it does come down to money, is are you too top heavy? You surely don't have enough sergeants and officers to run the jail, but we still have the same amount of command staff. So I think that's, we would like as a union for something for that to be looked at. I mean, I've never run a jail, so I can't tell you, but I can tell you that, you're working these guys right out when they're going somewhere else. These guys and gals, it's not. All right, you want to go on that?
I quickly went through rosters today. They put out new rosters. I'm showing 73 just Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta rotation that were short with spots. We used to have, some of these positions are closed, so I still added those numbers. I would assume they're still budgeted positions. But I'm showing 73. We did a public record and we got the number 73 circled. Our booking officers aren't even on the roster anywhere, which would actually help your counts, but they're still working in the capacity of booking, and that's now a civilian post. So when Smith put out 29, it lit a fire under everybody because they're like, how do you come up with 29? If you hired 29, we'd be staffed better, but unfortunately, we're not hiring, and they're leaving. So,
And Matt, just for my information or my purposes, Smith put out 29.
and sat right there in that chair and said we were 29 officers short.
Oh, you mean when we
Said
negotiated
he would
last
send
time?
us rosters that day on how we came up with that number, and we never got it. still to this day, we don't have that number or that roster.
Do you want to respond to that?
So I saw those rosters. I think there's 5 people short on Alpha, Bravo, Delta, and Charlie. Is that correct?
That's what they're saying, sir, but that's not the
You're,
numbers.
you're talking about previous years, maybe 10 years ago, when with the like transport officers, different stuff like
Yes,
that
sir.
has been trimmed out along the way. So going in based on those, there's 25 between the 5 of those different shifts, right? Alpha through E.
They don't give a number on there. They put a little yellow box on top of each roster, which I'm sure you've seen. They got 6 on Alpha, 5 on Bravo, 5 on Charlie, and 5 on Delta. There's no yellow box on the top of the admin
21
account.
plus active, okay.
The thing is there's so many posts that we had that made the jail run properly. They had RFMSs for when people were on vacation to backfill the spots. Rec officers, tower officers, court officers, roof rec, escort officers. All of them were eliminated. The inmates aren't getting wrecked properly. The staff can't do their job properly. That's where we're at. That's what we're telling everybody.
And, you know, hospital duty is kind of an unforeseen, if inmates go out to the hospital, that's kind of unforeseen, but when you had those extra positions, those were, they were utilized for that as well, so you're not taking people off the floor. So right now, you're just taking people off the floor.
I thought the SO was.
There is,
They're staffing some of them, but not all.
Yeah.
We've had an inmate out at the hospital for about 10 days who hasn't been watched by a deputy yet. I don't know who does the scheduling, if there's a communication breakdown there. But I talked to an officer that works for the sheriff's office. He puts in for the hospital and he never gets it. He said it's not there. So whoever's communicating from the jail to the SO, that's probably not working. That probably should be looked into.
Yeah, because I thought that, you know, based on the last round of negotiations, we had the last contract, that had been resolved.
Yeah, they're there sometimes, but this particular guy's been there, like I said, 10 days, county sentenced inmate. I called the booking department, seeing if we could get him out of jail early, so we wouldn't have to cover him on overtime. I guess they weren't able to do that. However, there hasn't been a deputy that watched him yet, to my knowledge.
I made a note, I can find that.
There was one.
Saturday and day shift, there was a deputy over there.
Correct, I sent 2 deputies up.
Okay, so 1 out of the 10 days.
Yes.
Now, give or take on the 10 days, I watched him, I think about 7 days ago on overtime days, so.
And we're not trying to be argumentative, and we appreciate that you guys are taking us back to the council, but I think the council needs to understand that the jail is not operating. It's in crisis mode. And somebody is gonna get hurt, whether it be an inmate or an officer. And, you know, you got, in order to run that jail correctly, you just need more people. And I don't, from my understanding, talking to the rank and file with the first year and then the 3 and 3, I mean, we're gonna have a meeting in caucus as soon as you're done, but they're still leaving. They're still gonna leave. If they leave, we're right back into that cycle. I mean, it's almost like it's just fair to keep them even. And the goal shouldn't be to keep even. And, you know.
And we had talked about actually leaving it open to address compression in years 2. So with this wage proposal, that's obviously gone. So that's another issue for us. 6-year officer makes $1.22 less than this guy who's got 17 years in. So 17 years of raises should add more than $1.22 to salaries. And then there's so on and so forth. Mr. Sutton stood up in our last negotiation and talked to y'all about the exact same thing. So some of the compression issues definitely need to be addressed still.
Well, because your last proposal was just 3% and 3%.
Right, when we were happy then.
Right, no, I understand that. That's but keep in mind, I can only, you know.
Right, but then you also
move forward based on.
we had decided that we could leave wages open in years 2 and 3. And I believe out of your mouth was, well, then maybe we can address some of the compression issues.
So I don't remember saying that.
We can put it on, pull it back on YouTube.
That's not,
Right. Compression definitely needs to be addressed.
So,
we
look,
got-
Rick, I don't think you all are being argumentative at all.
I think you're telling us how you feel, and, I think that's actually good, to have this kind of dialogue.
Well, the fear is, and I think it's a well-founded fear, everybody sitting back here saying today that is not leaving, is gonna suffer for the people that do leave, because they don't have the staff. They're the ones that gotta go in there. You got kids in here, you got, these guys and gals have families. They don't need to come in here and be put in danger because we just don't have the staff. That's just, it's already a hard enough job, just if everything's perfect. But we've been screaming about this for a long time. We've gone in front of the council. So I think that's a decision that we're gonna have to make, on how we're gonna proceed. If there's no more room for negotiations, if that's the final. We've been doing this for a while now. So I don't know where we are as far as this line in the sand for the county.
Well, once again, I was under the impression that we're in agreement on the first year, and then on the second and
Right.
third, we're really close. So that's, when you talk about line in the sand, I haven't addressed anything else in the first year.
Fair enough. We didn't expect that to come up, but it did. And I think rightfully so. They have a right to be a little aggravated. So.
Well, why don't you go ahead and do your caucus? I was looking into a little bit the issue with the 50% increases, and then when you're ready, we'll come back
But
and.
just for clarification, my understanding, they got a 10%. They're going to get the 5% that everybody else is getting, I think.
Okay, so they got the 10 plus 5.
That would be the 50.
You had it.
Of course.
So are these copies from? Can I take
Sure,
them?
you can have it.
Okay. All right, appreciate it.
All right.
All right, just,
We'll text them.
yeah, that's what there is some paper clips for all of our proposals and counterpoint.
Daniel, is this what you wanted to talk to me about?
Is that what,
The increases?